Hello, everybody. I am The Worm. I'm back with some more Raging Loop, and last time was another heavy blow for us all. I think we had, unfortunately, lost our boy, our genius, our eccentric, our monkey, Mochi, and it is very heartrending for all of us, I know, but we cannot let his memory go in vain. We have to utilize what he said and what he hoped to do, and try and gain some form of justice for him. So that's what we're going to be trying to do now, but unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be able to do it. I think this is probably a doomed run. In any case, before we get back into this new day, where more terrible things are going to happen, I'd like to step back for a moment and go over something I think will be important. Last time we heard some things from, what was it, Chammy? I think Chammy and Haruaki were in a conversation, and Haruaki referenced it. So I wanted to go back and check. I went and looked at the nursery rhyme that Chammy and Haru did together, and I went ahead and wrote down the lyrics, and I'll read them out, and then I'll just talk about it a bit, if you don't mind. Let's do that real quick. Okay. So I'm just going to read them out first, and then I'll talk about the parts that I find interesting. Okay, so the nursery rhyme / prayer went, Shinai-san's guardians are 1, snake, 2, monkey, 3, crow, 4, spider. 5, prepare the feast when the evening mists arrive. 6, the badger runs along late with Nair as a fix. 7, the corrupt Yomibito rise to oppose the mountain. 8, the death of the damned Yomibito is the mandate. 9, 1 soul per day now to bind. 10, the mists rise away again. And that's it. Now, a few of the lines, most of it seems to just sort of outline what's going to be happening. We know the mists are going to get here. We know there are the guardians. We know there's Yomibito. And I think the wolves count among the Yomibito, because I think we've been told they technically died, so they joined their side. Something like that is what we were told. So I guess the wolves are included in that. And then we get the 1 soul per day sort of thing, and then supposedly at the end the mists will leave, or will rise away. But there's the most interesting line for me right now is line 3, and it says, 6, the badger runs along late. 6, the badger runs along late with Nair as a fix. So we've never heard of a badger yet. It's as not as one of the guardians, not as the wolves. I don't know what the badger is meant to be. And then so the badger, it says the badger runs along late, and this is after 5, which is where the evening mists arrive, right? So apparently a badger is going to arrive late, presumably after the feasts already have begun. And then the second half of this line here, it says, with Nair as a fix. And this just confuses me. So I just tried to search, what is a Nair? N-A-R-E, Nair. And the only thing I could find, just from a quick glance, it's not like I did real in-depth research or anything, I just, quick Google search, is apparently a Nair is a nostril, but that doesn't really make sense to me with Nair as a fix, unless it has something to do with badger. I don't know much about badgers, to be honest. Maybe it's something to do with them, but I thought maybe it could be something like in kind of older English, not Old English, but kind of older, not specifically Old English, the language, I mean just an older English, you could say something like nary a fix, which means, there's no fix for it, nary a fix or nary a something, Nary. But it's not like there have been many misspellings or anything in this game, so I just can't think of what that's supposed to be with Nair as a fix. If you have any idea what that could be, you could let me know. Obviously, if you've already played the game and don't tell me that. Just if you're going along with this at the same time as I am, and you have any thoughts or theories or opinions about what's going on, I would certainly welcome you to put your thoughts. And then the other part that was of interest to me was on the 8th, or which this would be the 5th line. It goes 8, death of the damned Yomibito is the mandate. The line sort of just makes sense. I get that. That's the objective, destroying the Yomibito. Got it. That's what we want. But Haruaki had a line after this where he commented that it's a similar line to the previous one, but the roles are switched. Now, if we can recall, this nursery rhyme was sung by Haru and Chiemi, and apparently there is a male role and a female role, which is kind of interesting. So apparently for that specific line, the roles were switched. I'm not entirely sure what that means, but it's just something of note, I feel. So that's pretty much that. All I've gotten from that is there's apparently a badger. There's supposed to be a badger somewhere. Don't know about that. And yeah, other than that, it seems pretty straightforward. Yeah, okay. So, thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Nursery rhyme bit over. Let's get back into the actual game, shall we? It's Thursday. We lost Old Man and Mochi. I'm sure the wolves are going to be... They're having a field day, They're winning at the moment, so we'll see if they can push their advantage even further now, which they probably will, because they are not slouches, at least not from what we've seen so far. Well, and at least in this round, the humans are doing a pretty good job of just destroying themselves. Yeah, okay. We still got the mystery of who actually killed Mochi and the old man by a knife, which would bring suspicion to Chiemi, but Haruaki wants to believe her because she told the monkey strategy. Unless Chiemi's doing some sort of 4D chess move where she did that, even though it would be detrimental to the wolves, just to gain Haruaki's trust for some reason, even though he's not actually a participant in the feast. Okay, let's just keep going. Oops. Okay. I woke up at 5 in the morning. Huh. Pretty early. The window was still boarded up, so I couldn't see anything outside. All I could do was sit around and wait. Boarded up by Takumi, that's right. Eventually, I could hear the objects keeping me in get removed, and I was greeted by Yasunaga, Oribe, and Chiemi Serizawa. Now, if I'm remembering right, Takumi said he was going to be... Well, Takumi didn't tell us. The others told us that Takumi would be checking Haru because of her suspicious behavior on the night of Kanzo's death. Kanzo and Yoshitsugu's death. And I believe Haruaki had some thoughts on who the wolves might go for. I believe he... Who did he say? He gave 2 names. Was it Chiemi and Yasunaga? I don't remember. I'll have to check again, actually. I wish I remembered that. Those two actually survived. I guess it was these two. I think it was these two. I met up with Haru Makishima, too. Okay. Her face was pale and she had bags under her eyes. No one here looked healthy anymore, but she was beyond even that point. She'd gone completely meek, too. The defiance from yesterday was gone, and she was just letting Yasunaga-kun guide her. She'd lost another friend, after all. We arrived at the dining hall, but found no one there. The door was unlocked. That was a bad sign. It was Kanzo Makishima's place all over again. With that knowledge, I opened the door. What if she was attacked? Even if she wasn't, considering her state yesterday, it wasn't unlikely that she did something unthinkable, such as suicide. However, I soon found out that my worries were for nothing. Kaori-san was standing all alone in the dark dining hall wearing an apron. The fact that she wasn't doing anything but standing there was just eerie. She turned around and greeted us. Her voice was the only thing calm about her. Her eyes were bloodshot and signs of malnourishment were all across her face. Her faint, forced smile made her seem on the verge of collapse. She completely failed at acting normal. Her heart was probably swirling with panic and sorrow as great as yesterday. Everyone here could see it. After they volunteered to support Kaori-san, I thought about what purpose I could serve here. And called to Haru-chan before going outside. So we're gonna try and get some info. I'm worried that we haven't seen Takumi yet. Just wait, it's gonna be something crazy where, like, the old man was the spider, and now that he's dead, Takumi wasn't protected, and so the wolves killed him. Like, how do the wolves find out someone's protected by the spider? Do they try to get in but can't? What's the procedure there? She came with me, but she wasn't saying a word. During yesterday's feast, she'd had a fight with Kaori-san. The woman had voted for Haru-chan due to the change in her attitude and failed escape attempt, and I couldn't blame her for that. Considering her personality, I imagined that the exchange had been extremely intense. That was why getting her out of the dining hall was a good move. Problem was, we really didn't have anything to talk about. This was made worse by the hostility she'd shown me until just recently. According to Mochi, that was a product of her affection toward Yasunaga-kun and all the drama surrounding him. Normally, I'd playfully give her a hard time about that kind of thing, but it'd seem in poor taste considering the situation. She was staring daggers at me. Maybe I just had to ask her.
何ですか?
単刀直入に聞くが、君は狼か?
違うわよ.
She didn't hesitate at all. Not like that meant anything.
何よ? 納得いかないの? じゃあ、匠兄に調べてもらうわよ. それではっきりするでしょ?
気づいて言ってるのか?
は? 何を?
彼が生きていれば、食堂で香織さんを介抱しているのは彼だったはずだ。
If Takumi is indeed the snake, and we have plenty, I mean, we have definitely more reason to believe that he is, and if he isn't, pardon me, then him going would be, man.
昨日も彼は起きてすぐ食堂に行っていた。香織さんが弱っている今、そうすべき理由はさらに強まった。でも彼はいない。
嘘でしょ。そんなこと。
それを今から調べに行くから案内して。
分かった。
So I mean, it could be I guess it depends on how it works. So does the spider have to be alive for the spider's effect to occur? So say maybe Yoshitsugu or Kanzo was the spider, and they protected Takumi on the first night, but now that they're dead, obviously the spider can't do that. Or it could be if... Yeah, so I'm gonna assume that the spider can protect someone, but they themselves could get killed. Because it's you write the name and put it under your pillow, right? Something like that. So presumably the spider could do that, but then get killed themselves. So that their protection would go through. So I guess if Takumi ends up dead, then that means either the spider chose to protect someone else, or the spider was not able to protect Takumi because they were dead, so that's either Yoshitsugu, Kanzo, or Old Man.
Taiba, 起きてる?
Haru knocked on the door and tried to open it, but it was locked, meaning it wasn't touched. Tai-san came out sooner than later. She looked pretty displeased to begin with, but upon seeing me, she displayed outright disgust.
どうしてあんたが来なさったね。
すみません。香織さんの具合が悪くて人手が足りず。
匠はどうしたね。
今から見に行きます。
そうね。
Her gloomy expression told me she'd realized what might have happened. She said she had to prepare, so we excused ourselves.
必要なものがあったら言ってくださいね。
はいはいはい。
She shut the door on us.
女なら誰にでも優しいんですね。
What the hell was she saying?
お年寄りと女性を思いやるのが紳士ってものだろ。
知恵姉もそうなの？
彼女にはそれなりに好意を持ってる。
やめてよ。兄ちゃんがかわいそう。
Nii-chan. Yasunaga-kun, surely.
かわいそうとは？
よし君もモッチーも死んじゃって、兄ちゃんには香織さんと知恵姉しかいないのよ。それに知恵姉は私らの中で一番強くて、上藤吉のやつらや大人たちからいつも私らを守ってくれた。私らから知恵姉を取らないでよ。
So that's how it was. I wasn't sure how exactly, or excuse me, I wasn't sure how actually, one more time, I wasn't sure how she actually felt about Chami, but there was definitely more trust and reliance than I'd expected. Yasunaga-kun spoke like he'd given up on Chami, but deep down, he was actually glad that she had returned. Haru-chan was aware of that, and she actually liked Chami. That was why she concluded that they should be together. However, it was clear she didn't feel like giving them her blessing.
君の気持ちは分かったよ。
The end result depended on Chiemi, and since she hated Yasumizu, I felt like it wouldn't be something Haru-chan wanted. Then again, I really didn't know what was going on in Chiemi's head either, and I had no idea who'd survive, so making predictions was a waste of time.
とにかく今は宴を終わらせるという一点に集中すべきだ。僕には大したことができないかもしれないが、身内に話しづらいことでもあれば相談には乗るよ。
Yeah, so an outsider can be someone, who's distrusted by the village, but at the same time as someone who's not part of the village, he's not bound to their various biases and, he's not part of your inner group, so having an outside opinion could help,
何それ？
いや、何ってこともないけど、君は悩みが多そうだし。あと、外に逃げるって選択、僕はまだありだと思ってるから。
それは無理よ。
君は可能性にかけて逃げたんじゃないのかい？
でも逃げられなかったじゃない。だから分かった。逃げるなんてできないのよ。
それはたまたま怪我をしたからじゃ。
たまたまなんかじゃない。
君も神様を信じてるのか？
何を聞いた？
Her eyes, similar to Chiemi's eyes.
そんなものいない。そう考えなきゃやってられない。
There was a weird aura around her for a sec, but then she walked away, leaving me no choice but to follow her. We arrived at the houses. The mysterious girl was on the verge of crying.
おはよう。どうしたの？
はっきり喋りなさいよ。喋れるでしょあんた。
大人げないな。はい、おはようございます。
This was hopeless. Haru-chan glared at her while I stayed patient.
リカコさんは？
お姉ちゃん、
うん。どこ？
出てこない。
ここよ、あいつの家。
It really was. I'd been here yesterday. I knocked and called out to her. There was no response. Haru-chan and I looked at each other and I tried opening the door. Huh? It was locked.
リカコさん！
Still no response. I hesitantly put my ear to the door. I heard some sort of rustling sound.
多分着替え中か何かだろ
じゃあやっぱり。
う。まだわからない。まだ清之助しかもしれない。
Wouldn't that be something?
私がどうしたと？
Oh, hello. Nothing, Kinosuke. Well, I did expect him to live.
リカコさんは大丈夫かね？
あなたはそればっかりですね。一応大丈夫そうですよ。まだ出てきてないですが、どうかしたんですか？
嫌な予感がしてな。杞憂ならいい。しかしそうなると、死んだのは山脇老人か？
タイバーは生きてた。
なんだと？
Why was he so positive?
はるちゃんはメイコを連れて食堂へ。清之助さん、手を貸してください。
Have you seen Takumi or something? He tried to say something, but decided against it. He must have realized what had happened to the one who'd usually been given these types of annoying jobs. As expected, oh no. As expected, the door to his house was unlocked. And the reek of fresh blood was so strong you could smell it outside. I thought that was enough to help me prepare, but once I saw the source, I couldn't keep down what few contents my stomach had left. The two from the first day, Kanzo Makashima and Yoshitsugu Oribe, they'd lost all semblance of form to the point their corpses felt unrealistic. On the other hand, Chikamochi Kamoshida and the old wolf guy's corpses were far too clean. Their faces were still intact after all. However, Takumi Muro-san's corpse was an even balance between ruined and intact. It was spread out on the floor, surrounded by splashes and splotches of blood, as well as some bloody footprints. Scattered brain, gray matter, bone fragments, eyes. About 60% of his face was gone. This time, the method was clear. There was a rifle lying right next to his corpse. The weapon was actually on the scene for once, and it was a gun. What did it mean? Well, the one person we know who had a gun was in fact Kanzo. So presumably they took it from him. Or from his place. I wanted to think about that, but I was too shaken by the clear agony Takumi-san's death had brought him. You could see his suffering on the still present half of his face. His hands were on his head, too, as if to cover his face or reach for the clearly fatal wound. He died while holding on to his shattered brain. Though fatal, the first attack hadn't killed him instantly. He could still move after it, which was a testament to his strength and willpower. His life had ended as he suffered overwhelming despair. It was written all too clearly on his death visage. My emotions bubbled and overwhelmed my thoughts, and I vomited once again.
大丈夫かね
Kinosuke, she added, clearly avoiding looking at it himself.
誰か銃の扱いがわかる人を連れてきてください。
I never expected you to come along, in quotation marks. Her expression was too stern and serious for me to say even that.
匠兄ちゃん。くそ。
She cursed and looked at the gun.
これ、肝臓じいちゃんのライフル。
Mm-hmm. She grasped its long body and picked it up.
5発全弾撃ち切ってる。空薬莢落ちてる？
Interesting.
探す。
I found them real quick. They were covered in blood and flesh, but yeah, I found the metallic cylinders. 5 of them. They were 2 meters away from the corpse, very close to one another. Either the culprit fired from them there, either the culprit fired from there or gathered them afterwards.
見て、握りの部分。
Chim extended the rifle to me. I did as told. Compared to the rest of the gun, which had blood on every part, the handle was clean, like it'd been wiped.
指紋を拭き取った。
かもね。
Hang on. Let me just do something real quick. Okay, Okay, we have Haruaki, Haru, Chiemi, Meiko, Kiyo, Yasu, Kaori, Tai. Is that everyone who's alive right now? I think that's everyone. Okay, Meiko cleared. Kinosuke cleared. We're assuming Haruaki's exempt, right? Because he's not part of the feast this time around. So that leaves Tai, Kaori, Yasu, Chiemi, Haru. So we have 5 potential suspects. And again, here's the thing. We're taking into account Haruaki wanted to see people who could use a rifle, right? Does that mean Tai Yamawaki is exempt from this? I mean, because she's an older woman and may have trouble with that. And look, here's the thing. Okay, so if someone's a wolf, what does that mean exactly? Because say Kaori was a wolf. Because we get into weird things like with motive, right? Both Yoshitsugu and Takumi, I mean, these are the most important people to Kaori in her life. And they've both been killed. Should we take that to mean that just due to that, the lack of motive, that she couldn't be a wolf? But we know there's 2, so could it be that, the other wolf did and she's still upset about it. Like, you know, it's hard to understand. But okay, just looking at the last 5 possible suspects here. Haru, Chiemi, Yasunaga, Kaori, Tai. The 2 most suspicious people right now are Yasunaga and Haru. Chiemi we want to believe in, at least Haruaki does, at least on the basis of the fact that she brought up the monkey strategy. Kaori, just the motive seems just not there. Tai could be one of them, but again, I don't know how the wolves work, really. I guess Yasunaga and Haru are my suspects right now. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Chiemi then held it like she was about to shoot and aimed at Takumi-san's body.
ここから撃ってる。
Wow, you know your stuff, Chiemi.
どうしてわかる？
血の飛び散り方。あっちに向かって勢いよく飛んでるでしょ。かなり低い角度で撃った証拠。それに普通のライフルはかなり至近距離でもないとこういう風にめちゃめちゃな傷にはならない。
You really know your stuff, huh?
かといって銃口を押し付けて撃ったらいろんなものが跳ね返って銃口がもっと汚れてるはず。
And that was why it was natural to think it had been fired from where she was standing, near the cartridges.
狙って当たるもの？
ちゃんと狙い方を知っていることと対象が動いていないこと、これが揃えば大丈夫。
ということは銃が使えるものの。
ちなみに小銃から小生を除く、それだけ。銃って誰でも簡単に人を殺せる便利な道具なんだよ。
弾の装填とかはその辺の一般人に渡してすぐにできるとは思えない。
それはそうかもね。でも、タイバーちゃんあたりなら撃ったことあるだろうし、休みずないで選別は無理かな。
Okay, so I guess Tai has to be put back on the list. Okay. This was a settlement where the people went hunting. Basically everyone here must have touched rifles before. All we could really do was assume that Mako-chan couldn't have done this. Oh, did I... Sorry. I forgot Rikako. I forgot her because we haven't seen her yet, which is strange. Yeah, we know Mako's innocent.
そもそも前段
Wait,
命中してるわけじゃない。どうやら1発は耳に、2発は胸と肩に。あ、ここにも弾痕。
She pointed to us at a small part of the floor that was ruined.
頭部に当たったのは一発だけか。
そうだね。もしかしたらそれは致命傷じゃなくて胸の一発がとどめだったのかも。
She looked at the body's pose and made the same conclusion as me.
ちなみになんでそんなに詳しいの？
私も狩猟免許持ってる。銃も罠も網も全部使える。外ではクレー射撃何度も行ったし、それなりに慣れてるよ。
なんとすごいな。意外な一面だ。
まあね。
いずれ戻ってここで漁師になるつもりだったの？
銃を持ちたかった。それだけ。
She said that as if it was no big deal. Her tone seemed kind of dangerous.
ええ。まあ、人を殺しかけたりとか。
Yes, but apparently that was with a bat, not a gun.
中学の時かな。安水の子らをいじめてた分校の上級生らをバットでボッコボッコ。
It was the impression you'd get from a girl capable of random acts of violence. was probably jumping to conclusions, though.
もう片付けてもいいかな。
春明さんがいいなら。
じゃあ片付ける。
何か分かった？
一連の殺人が人間の犯行だってことに確信を持っただけ。
Yeah, at least Kanzo's and Takumi's. The culprit used a gun, wiped off their fingerprints, acts that demonstrated a very human level of cunning. If we were up against something supernatural, they'd just have used their mysterious powers instead. If something mysterious can be explained using mundane means, then it was caused by mundane means. That was the general rule I lived by, proven through both knowledge and first-hand experience. Supernatural powers that required carrying out occult rituals were prime examples of things it applied to. The more detailed the preparation required, the more opportunities to notice something amiss. If the trick relied on concealing the method, it was safe to assume the method was something mundane, even if this death wasn't caused by some kind of supernatural force. It just happened unobserved. We had people who could do it and the methods that fit. That was the best way to look at it, right?
そうかもね。
認めるんだ。
多分殺してるのは私の知ってる誰かと誰か。紛れ。
でもそれは。
Didn't that go against her whole God story? I wanted to ask that, but seeing her eyes made me fall silent. Her eyes were wide and cloudy.
でもね。
Her lips let out clear words.
神様からは。
I looked away. I probably wanted to cover my ears too.
誰も逃げられないんだよね。
I found her words so irrational that it began to frighten me. I asked Chami to call Kinosuke to help carry the corpse, but she insisted on doing it herself. I caved, and we began the unpleasant task. Following Takumi-san's example, I removed the door and placed his body on it. Chami and I each took an end of the door and lifted it up. He was as heavy as he looked, and I wouldn't have been surprised if this was too much even for two men. However, Chemi lifted her side without letting out a single grunt of exertion. It felt like an active rejection of the idea that she might need help. We slowly began walking. Kinosuke was outside. He was anxious about something. It didn't look like he was waiting for us, so maybe Rikako Uematsu hadn't come out yet. I couldn't afford to stop and chat. Relaxing my arms or lower body could lead to me dropping Takumi-san. I kept walking forward without a single word. Sighing and stopping was our first sign that one of us needed rest. Every time one of us did, we lowered him to the ground, rubbed our aching hands, adjusted our grips, and resumed walking. As we approached the cliff, Chimi's expression grew darker.
匠兄ちゃんは安水で一番年の近いお兄ちゃんだったから。
I wasn't going to ask how that mattered. I didn't see a point in questioning it. I simply nodded, continuing to play the role of audience.
昔はいっぱい遊んでくれたし、怒られた時はかばってくれた。こんな何もない湿っぽい場所だけど、匠兄ちゃんは安水を、ここに住む人を愛してた。
そうだね。わかるよ。
まっすぐな人だった。捨てたくないよ。
ああ、当然だと思う。僕だってこんなやり方はしたくない。やめる？このやり方にこだわりそうなのは、匠さん本人と大さんくらいしかいないんじゃないの？
しなきゃダメ。
汚れか。
I continued asking if she was sure, but she didn't change her mind, so we ended up throwing his body into Saranaga. We walked through the graveyard, careful not to trip. We could now see the hanging pine through the mist. Our destination was near. We carefully closed in on the cliff and pushed the door toward it.
さよなら、匠兄ちゃん。
She said that right as I felt the body slide off. It was falling. I'd done this several times now, but it still made me feel empty. It would eventually hit the water, make a splash, and that'd be it. Huh?
水音した？
さあ、
聞き違いか？
あるいは皿長の底が抜けて黄泉の国につながってるのかも。
本当にファンタジーだね。
霧の向こうに何があるか誰も知らない。
今から降りてみせようか。
あなたは帰ってこない。
That was how she saw the world.
戻ろう。
Okay, I can go on a little longer. We returned to do another investigation of Takumi-san's house, but something strange had happened while we were gone. Kinosuke-shi was still in the same spot in front of Rikaku Uematsu's house, waiting for her without even trying to hide his frustration.
まだ出てこないんですか？
まったく大丈夫そうと言ったのは君だが、どういう根拠だったのかね。
音がしたから。
待ってる間にあなた自身で呼んでみればよかったんじゃないですか？
そんなぶしつけなことができるか。
なんでそんなにリカ子さんにだけ気を使ってるんです？野里は植松より格上でしょうに。
That was a interesting bit of info. I hadn't realized that the head families had a hierarchy.
女性に気を使うのは当然だろう。
私も女性なんですけど。
あえて敵外心をむき出しにしてくる相手に気を使う必要があるのかね。え？
勘弁してくださいよ。ついさっきそこで死人が出たんですよ。
That was probably one of the reasons why they were so agitated. But my comment was enough to shut them up.
とはいえ心配ですね。中で病気やら怪我やらしてたら大変だ。最悪踏み込みましょ
う。そんなぶしつけな。
Was he the type of guy to report someone who undressed a girl to give her proper first aid? What was up with this guy's priorities?
植松さん、植松里香子さん。
I bashed the door almost violently. I heard the sound of rustling clothes. Had she collapsed or something?
植松さん、戸を開けますよ。
No answer again, only sounds. Was it really Rikaku Uematsu in there?
戸を破ります。
Chami nodded while Kinosuke-shi gave a disgruntled sigh. The door was made from thin plywood and a wooden frame. A solid impact would break through. I looked around and saw a few aged farming tools lying against some houses. The old wooden hoe and mallet were too rotten to work here, but the old axe looked just right. Hello. Hello there, axe.
せーの。
I lifted the axe and started counting, but had to stop midway. There was a sound of clattering. The door suddenly moved. Surprised, I jumped backward and glanced at the other two. They were just as shocked, if not frightened.
何なの？
何ってリカ子さんだろ。
植松さん。
There was no response at first, but a few seconds later, the door shook again. A moment later, it fell silent once more. Had she collapsed on the door? If she wasn't well and was lying next to the door, breaking it open was dangerous. I put the axe down and walked up to the door again. The moment I approached it, I heard a clicking sound. I didn't even have time to question what happened before it creaked open. There was a gap about 20 centimeters. It was pitch black inside. There was a face all covered in blood. It sunk back into the darkness the very next moment, but it was soon replaced by an inhuman scream and an arm that snaked out and grabbed for my neck. The grip had inhuman strength behind it. I ignored Chami and Kinosuke-shi's screams and tried to pry myself free. My throat was on the verge of being crushed. The groans continued ceaselessly. The nails dug into my neck and I was being dragged inside. How the hell was she so strong? This arm could clearly belong to Rikaku Uematsu, so why? No words got them out of their stupor and they ran up to me. As panic and lack of oxygen dimmed my vision, they grabbed and bashed and tugged at the arm that was holding on to me.
この離せ。
の指離れれば。
I don't know how long it took, but when I was eventually freed, Shimmy swiftly slammed the door shut.
早く何か閉じるもの。
そんなことを言っても。
ああ、もう斧でぶっ刺せ。
Sitting on the ground in shock, I simply stared at their exchange. I could still barely breathe, my vision was hazy, and I couldn't think clearly. Something inside was trying to get the door open and possibly escape. What it was, though, I had no idea. What had happened to Rikako Uematsu?
これでどうだ。野里さん、ここ押さえといて。みんな連れてきて戸を塞ぐから。春明さん大丈夫？立てる？
Actions were more important than words here. Stealing my resolve, I rose to my feet. We gathered everyone who could still move and sealed off Rikako Uematsu's door and windows with planks, nails, large farming tools, and whatever else we could find. The small house was basically a pile of flimsy barricades now. Everyone was tired from all the work and sat down to rest. What's the point of doing this, though? Someone asked. We could still hear the groans and crashing sounds from the inside. No one answered the question, but we all understood that letting that thing out would be a mistake. But what exactly was it, anyway?
読み人じゃ。
That seemed like an answer, of some sort anyway.
タエバ、どういうこと？
読み字より来たる汚れた者ども。知っておるじゃろう。読み人に間違いない。
いや、そうじゃなくて、読み人は狼でしょ。宴で殺された恨みで蘇った。
そうとは限らんのよ、春ちゃん。安水は常に昔も今も読み人に脅かされとる。
Yeah, in the stories we heard, there was a distinction. There's the Yomibito, and then after the wolves were killed, they joined their side. That's what I recall.
あるいは汚れは読み人を生んだのかもしれぬ。植松様は何かとんでもない銀を破ったのやも。
Man, this is a whole different level. If this is corruption, this is a whole another level of corruption, or something else entirely.
バカな！近畿の守り手、浄化を司るのが雲の家の役目だぞ。
じゃからこそ汚れに触れすぎたのかもしれぬでしょう。
それは。
思えば安水に来られたのは黄泉の汚れを少しでも食い止めんとされたのかもしれませんね。これからどれだけ読み人が出るやら知れたもんじゃないわ。匠はええ子じゃった。地獄を見る前に行けてよかったやもしれんね。ナムシ内大権現、ナムシ内大権現。
Silent prayer. Her eyes were teary and her shoulders were shaking.
待て。じゃあ、リカコさんはも
う。読み人はくくらねばならん。
That didn't sit right with me. The rule was that breaking the laws meant getting the corruption, and getting the corruption meant being slaughtered, right? It was the first time I'd heard that it was possible to do something about the corruption, and that she'd die because of that. Logic had little ground here, so the people were gradually losing their minds. They were being pushed closer to death. It was like this was a supernatural phenomenon.
皆さん、食事にしませんか？私はもう落ち着きましたから。他のことは皆さんが落ち着いてから。
It was a very attractive suggestion. As we all turned away and returned to the dining hall, I felt like Rikako Uematsu that are grown even more inhumanely loud than any of those before. Oh, man. Oh. Well, you know, on one of the very first endings we got, when Haruaki was trapped in the outhouse, he did have a zombie theory. I just didn't expect that to come back up again. Oh my goodness. What is going on in this village? Oh man. I feel drained at this point. Okay, my throat hurts, and I'm about at time, so I'm going to call it here. And next time we'll actually kind of more thoroughly discuss what went on, including Takumi-san's death. And I don't even know what to say about Rokako. I guess we'll find out. Hope you're all doing well. I've been The Worm. This has been Raging Loop, and I hope to see you next time. Be well.